Again, calling to order the meeting of July 18, 2022 of the Municipal Authority. We are just coming back from an executive session to discuss litigation matters. Okay, roll call. Tom Greco.
Yep.
Mark Kay.
Here.
Louis Rosenthal.
Here.
Paul Montefiore.
Here.
Maria Kane here.
Good.
At this stage, let's have just I think we can just move right into the Pledge of Allegiance. I think we had the moment of silence on for a special day the last time. Okay, let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, everybody's had a chance to review the agenda. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve.
Okay.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, at this stage, we'll take public comments on agenda items only. I see there are some members of the public here. Do you have any comments on agenda items? If not, that's fine. We can get to you later. Okay, all right. All right, next, consider approving the minutes from June 20, 2022 meeting of the Municipal Authority. Can I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Second from Tom, thank you. Any questions or comments?
I would only comment that there was an addition to the minutes to sort of cover your abstention from a vote
Thank
last
you.
week. And
Yes,
yeah, good
thank
point.
you very much. Do I need to, I did sign something on that.
You sent me an email.
Yeah.
Attached it to the-
I saw that attached.
And it's
yeah.
in the public version of the minutes.
Perfect, okay. And is there anything, I think there might have been something on this agenda as well. Is there? If so, just be aware, anything,
If you do, then.
we'll deal with it then. And
Anytime anyone recuses themselves, they need to basically give the reason for their recusal.
Yep.
And then send us a note why, basically why they did it, so we can attach it to the agenda so everybody knows what the action was and why you did it.
thank you, Steve. Okay. Thank you very much.
We have to take a vote. There's a
Oh, I'm
motion.
sorry, there's still a motion on the table. Okay, all those in favor of approving the minutes?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, that's unanimous. Moving on to the treasurer's report. And are you presenting that, Steve?
I can typically, just any questions that you have, we will address, but hopefully you've had a chance to review it. It was in
Yeah.
your packet.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm here as well. I have nothing additional.
I was wondering where you were, Rich. All right, Rich.
I have nothing additional to report than what has already been handed in. I'd be happy to answer any of the board members' questions if they have any.
So, yeah, thank you, Rich. It's Louis. I want to get a little bit of update on where we are with this continuing issue with delinquencies. If you look at the 90 days and older list, we have this 3820 Westchester Pike, which has been out there forever. And we've sent notices 3 years ago and got a judgment, not judgment, or maybe there's another term for it, judgment in October of 2018. And I'd like to know what we're doing now, either from a billing and collection standpoint and or what our solicitor may be doing.
Sure. So from my standpoint, the administrative standpoint, the board has approved us to work with Portnoy. I believe that was 2 meetings ago. I've been working with Portnoy as well as our software / billing customer service company. We're starting to develop some lists back and forth that we plan on getting out right after the second quarter. The second quarter billing is ready to hit the mail right now. So after speaking with the software company as well as Portnoy, we're going to wait until those bills are due, and then we're going to hand the delinquent collections over to Portnoy after this board approves the list that we're going to hand over.
Okay, I mean, have we, any communications? I mean, they have not paid a bill in 2 years.
That's not uncommon with them.
Well, I think I think Lewis's point is.
We have liened the property.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
and we continue to do that step. It will be when we take the change, when we make the change to going to Portnoy for collection, I believe that the process will be a little different, and you've made that decision. We're not taking any additional steps until we get that process up and going, because we don't want to interfere with what they'll be doing going forward.
Do we have an ability to appeal to the water provider to cut off water service so that the flow does not go into the system?
We have had that, we have that kind of, there are a couple issues, I believe, on this particular property, in that I do not believe this is the, is this the rental property, Rich?
38.
20.
Yeah, I believe that yes, they are rental properties.
Yeah, I believe these are rental properties. There's a little bit different responsibility with rental properties and how you do those. We have looked at the possibility of turning off. Our prior solicitor had recommended that we not take that step, and the board had followed through with that recommendation.
Right.
And going forward, using Portnoy as our collection, they also don't recommend actually turning the water off. They
Okay,
recommend
so
taking those things.
and I appreciate that. And I understand probably the renters are not the ones who are not paying the sewer bill, it's the landlord. And so I would encourage our operations manager and solicitor to look and see if that landlord has any other business with the township, and maybe advise others in the township of the status of this.
We do
landlord.
evaluate that in regards to issuing permits.
Okay.
We take advantage of that when we can.
Okay.
Even though that the authority and the township are two separate, they're both municipal organizations, and we can do that. And we do review
Okay.
prior to issuing permits. I will say, this particular situation, the person doesn't always, the landlord doesn't always bother to actually request permits to do work that he's going to do either, which opens up a whole nother issue.
Why am I not shocked? So, okay, thank you. And so I get you get my sort of.
I understand what you're trying to do. That's one of the reasons why we were recommending Portnoy as part of the
Right.
collection
And
process.
honestly, I'm not trying to be a pain in the butt on this one, but there are other ratepayers in the township that are carrying the load for this
Absolutely.
person.
We
So,
100% agree with you.
yeah, okay. Rich, finally, the only other comment I would add to your report is as we look at, and we have some items later to draw down money from the bond fund. It would be helpful for next meeting or the meeting after that if we had some type of a projection of what we think is still open and potential draws against the fund, because now we're getting close to the sort of $500,000 level.
Sure.
And, that's a couple of 3 months of draws. And so I'd just like to know when it runs out. And
Rich and I have been, Rich has been doing the lion's share of this work, but we've been having conversations about it, I guess, for about the last month and a half, 2 months. And we plan on having something before you, hopefully at the August meeting. And you'll be able to see where exactly we are. There are a couple questions that we have outstanding that we're trying to get answers to, and then we'll have that. For you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Those are all my questions, comments. Thanks, Rich.
Thank you. Okay, I'll take a motion then to approve the treasurer's report.
Motion to approve treasurer's
Second.
report.
Any other questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, and engineers report, Dave Porter.
Thank you. First, I'll start with sanitary sewer project in Camelot. First, I'll start with the sanitary sewer project update on the Camelot service area. We've been moving forward with the Delaware County Conservation District and our permitting effort for the minor permit mod. Met with them last week. We believe now that we have everybody on the same page as far as what changes are being made for the sewer project for that permit. We've gotten the Conservation District justification for the minor permit mod, submitted everything electronically last week and followed up with hard copy submissions today to the Conservation District. I did put a call into the district today and got the reviewer's voicemail, so I was not able to speak with them, but I'm hoping that we'll have some good news early this week.
I think what about the infiltration testing on that? Has that been scheduled?
So part of what we met about was looking at everything globally. So as part of this permit modification, although we're adding a little more than an acre of new disturbed area, we also are removing disturbed area related to where the driveway was previously going to go. And we also, during the construction process, made some adjustments to the sewer main to avoid doing some wetland, some permanent fill in wetland areas, which necessitated a wetland mitigation effort. So that limit of disturbance was deducted. So essentially, the net limit of disturbance was about zero increase. So the volume and rate was based on looking at the new driveway only, and then also comparing it to what the previous driveway dictated as far as stormwater management. And we were able to provide calculations to clarify that by relocating the driveway, we're reducing the overall volume, we're reducing the overall limit of disturbance. And because we're reducing the volume, we essentially eliminate any increase in rate of runoff. So therefore, we should qualify for a minor permit amendment, and we're moving forward in that manner. We did share with the Conservation District prior to going into that meeting a narrative justification on taking that approach, and they did give us feedback. They said that it looks good. They just wanted to see the calculations to support it. So
Okay.
that's where we are. So
I guess
to
I
answer
guess-
your question directly, we don't need an additional infiltration BMP, and we don't need the additional testing to go along with that because
It looks like they're going to accept the minor
That's
permit
correct, yes.
application, but
Yep.
we don't have that definitively. I thought we did, but maybe I.
they wanted to see the calculations. They
So-
agreed with the justification so long as the calculations supported what we were telling them.
And you provided the calculations, but they haven't reviewed them.
That's correct. Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. Ari Malillo is the tech at the Conservation District. He did acknowledge via email on Friday that he received everything, and he said he will try to get to him as soon as possible. I did put a call into him today, but those folks are pretty busy over there.
Apparently. But, and then we have a waiver on the, some sort of a waiver on the 30-day wait period. In other words, we don't have to sit and wait.
Right. So as part of the NPDES permit process, there is something called an Act 14 notification. It ensures that the county and local municipalities get notified that these permits are being applied for. So that way a developer can't just go in and say, okay, we're applying for this permit and ignore all of the county or the local municipal land use regulations. This is part of Newtown Township itself. So we're essentially notifying the Board of Supervisors that we're going through this permitting process, which they're already well aware of. We've already gotten permits previously for it, so we're making them aware of the minor permit modification. And then there's one for the county as well. There's a 30-day time period from when they receive that municipal land use questionnaire to either respond within that 30 days, or if the 30 days lapses, then we have no further obligation to chase them down. The county ended up responding to that, so we don't have to wait that additional 30 days any longer. We've already received response from Newtown Township.
Okay, so,
As soon as we get word that the permit's ready and
which
is
could
issued,
be as early as later this week or next week?
yeah.
Okay.
So, and with that, I know that PICO has received delivery of the transformer for the electrical work there. They're
Mhm.
just waiting on notice that, we have our permit for them to go ahead and set the transformer, and Ford Brothers Electric has already acknowledged that, they're on notice to do the electrical work. I have reached out to the property owner of the golf course to discuss which contractor they would prefer to have to come in and do their driveway grading and construction. The other contractor that they were working with, apparently the gentleman is having health problems, so he's asking for a little bit of time to get back in touch with him. Apparently he's I don't know what the nature of the health issue is, but he's recuperating, and they want to give him a few days to recoup. So other than that, Joe Davis would be the other contractor that had already previously given quotes for that. So that's the next thing that I'll be updating the authority on, as far as which contractor and the timing in which they're going to get out there. Obviously, we want them to go immediately after the electrical goes in, so that way we have access to the pump station.
And sorry that I interrupted, so.
No, that's okay.
Please
That-
proceed.
That actually completes my update on the Camelot service area, so I'm happy to answer any other questions if you have any.
There was also with our materials an update, a report on all of the projects that are outstanding or issues.
Yep.
It's very helpful, Dave.
Yeah,
Good.
so maybe this would be a good time to ask any of the board members if they have any questions on any of the items in there.
Yeah, and I'm prepared to kind of hit the highlights on those if you like.
Yeah,
Kinda
that'd
just
be,
go down the
why don't
list.
we do that? I
That'd
think
be
that would be very
perfect. Okay.
helpful. Thank you.
Camelot's item 1D, Camelot service area. This is really more related to the Muirwood Hills development and dedication of their public sewer. The authority did construct a sewer line to accept flow from the Dogwood Lane and Dogwood Place residents. That sewer line was constructed over a portion of the Suburban Seahawk Swim Club property. We have gone out and surveyed. We have prepared a legal description and a plan and a draft easement agreement, which I circulated to the solicitor, to the chair, and to Mr. Neese this afternoon. I do have copies for the other members of the authority here as well, which I will hand out. So I guess the next step is to work with Mr. Madron to prepare a cover letter, send that out to Suburban Seahawks and further that process along. There was previously some discussion about a property owner actually across the street that wanted to tie into public sewer. They had.
This is item number 2.
This is item number 2, correct? Yeah. So Bishop Hollow Road sanitary sewer alternative, they had a contractor come out and propose a sewer main extension, sort of parallel to where we had designed it for the sewer extension project. We were anticipating connecting maybe 9, 10 houses. It ended up being a cost of just under $1 million. So now he comes in and he designs a plan that was going to need some additional easements. It was going to cost $400,000 and it was going to connect like 4 or 5 houses. So we were just at about the same net cost per resident. So this individual property owner does have a failing on-lot system. They're currently going through a permanent process to do a new on-lot sewage disposal system at this time. Item 3B and 3C. 314 Summit Avenue. It's the bank restoration project. I have sent to Mr. Madron a draft easement agreement. What we need there is just a temporary construction easement. We already have the proposed limit of work within the permanent easement that the authority controls for that project. So once we kind of pin down the language on that temporary construction easement, communicate that with the property owner, we'll be able to put that project out to bid. So I anticipate having that out. Let's see. We're looking to advertise next, 7/20 and 7/25. So starting Wednesday of this week, and then again next week, and then accept bids on August 15th at the next authority meeting. So it's a relatively small project. We're looking at maybe, 50, 75 feet of bank restoration. We did confirm that there is no additional DEP permitting that's necessary because the drainage area is so small to that particular stream where it's a waived activity. So we don't need any special permitting to go and do the in-stream work there. Item 4B with regard to restoration at 4019 Fox Hill Lane. We had met with the property owner prior to our survey crew going out on the 12th of July. And what we were charged with was to do a topo survey, essentially of the front, side, and rear portion of the property. The property owner has indicated that they have some drainage issues from partially from, I guess, our contractor, partially from their contractor. But nevertheless, we're topoing everything so we understand where the water's going. We're going to come up with a grading plan to show where the discharge needs to go. And then we'll work with the property owners, obviously, to come up with an overall plan and a contractor that, I believe the authority wants the owners to seek a contractor that they're comfortable with, and the authority would discuss how that's going to move forward. So we should have that plan pulled together before the next authority meeting. So I'll be able to report on that next month. Item 4E is actually an agenda item under new business, so we'll cover that a little bit later. Item number 5 is the Westchester Pike Sanitary Sewer Repair and Replacement bid. That bid was out on Penn Bid. Bids were received today, or I should say bid was received today. There was only one contractor that bid on the project, which is odd because there was a whole list of contractors that were looking and reviewing it on Penn Bid. We did have a voluntary pre-bid meeting. 0 contractors attended. So there was very little questions and activity on Penn Bid, honestly. But we're obligated to read this out loud at the public meeting. So with that, Wexcon Inc. is the bidder for alternate number 1, which is the 40-foot segment of sanitary sewer replacement along Westchester Pike. The total bid for alternate 1 was $49,050.00. And then there's also alternate 2, which includes 350 lineal feet of replacement from existing sanitary manhole to sanitary manhole. And that overall cost is $312,575.00. And it appears that the requisite documentation was submitted through Penn Bid. Our office will verify that everything was submitted as required in the bid document, and then we will make a recommendation to the authority at the next monthly meeting. I will say to the authority that the initial cost estimate that we did was right around $200,000 for everything, including from manhole to manhole. We did add some additional provisions in there for kind of waterproofing to eliminate I&I, which wasn't in the original cost estimate, but still it's quite a bit higher than we originally anticipated, which
75% higher.
yeah, we're seeing kind of across the board. There was a lot of the quantities, the unit prices were relatively consistent, except when we got to paving, curb replacement, repair, pipe was higher. So anything that was really petroleum based, we found to be significantly higher. Wearing course was just about double the unit cost, which was odd because the base course and the binder course were right around the same unit cost, but the wearing course was double. Yeah.
Is this these items, are those, I didn't mean to interrupt, but,
No, it's okay.
I don't understand what those terms were. Are those materials or labor to apply materials or use materials?
So the labor is all included
Okay.
in that bid price, but yeah, the unit cost for the materials have the labor cost built into those units essentially, so.
When we talk about base, wear course and all of that, that's actually road repaving over top of what the work we do. And I'm not surprised that those numbers, particularly the wearing course, is that expensive. We're seeing that when we're looking at it from a township side as well.
Right, it's still early in this bid process and getting through 10 bid or whatever that mechanism.
Well, this is the bid. This is the
Okay.
bid that was received, and when it's opened, we're obligated to read it out loud at a public meeting.
It's not happening this evening is what I was getting.
No, we have to make sure that they were responsive and responsible and provided all the documentation. The authority has no obligation to award the contract either. If it's significantly
Right.
over the authority's budget, you just, decline to.
Would might we expect to read the bids in public next meeting? Or do we have a separate meeting?
Well,
We could
The
accept
bid reading was just done.
Yeah.
That's what he just
Okay.
did.
Right, so then we would.
So
then it would
now,
be agenda
so at the
time.
next meeting, it would be presented to you that they had completely done their review. And then it would be up to you to accept the bid or reject the bid at that time.
And
Okay.
the engineer at that time can make a recommendation.
Right,
Yeah, there won't be any further bids. The bid deadline was today. So that's it.
in conjunction with whenever we're asked to vote on this, it would be helpful to get an analysis from the authority staff, the operations manager and the finance director with respect to 75%, give or take, over what we budgeted.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or what are you,
So, Rich, are
make
you
sure I
there?
understand
Is
what you're
Rich-
asking.
Well, I think Dave said that.
Yeah, I don't know that it was
was-
budgeted. It was an original cost estimate that we thought.
So your engineer gave you a cost estimate of a little over 200,000.
And
to
now
do
we're
this
getting
project.
350.
When we went out to bid, it came back at a little over 350.
312,575.
Well, is it?
75%.
Option one separate?
Yeah, so you either do alternate one, which is replacing 40 feet of the sewer,
Gotcha.
or you do alternate two, which replaces
The whole
everything
thing.
manhole to
Okay.
manhole. Yep.
Just, I didn't know if the two were
Did
added
either
together.
one of the come in, did you do your cost estimate based on alternate one and alternate two, or just a combined?
I can kind of back into what we would anticipate for alternate one, but just as a matter of, I guess, fodder or discussion, 8-inch sanitary sewer main, which is all the sewer pipe that we put in on the sewer project. The unit costs we got for that, now granted, we were doing significantly more quantity of sewer main, but that cost was $110 a lineal foot on average, somewhere 125, depending on the depth in which it was installed. The price we got here was $265,000 or $625,000. No, $265,000, sorry, for per lineal foot cost of that 8-inch. So it's over double the cost. Sanitary sewer laterals, similarly, we had the 6-inch diameter laterals we had in the sewer project at $75 to $90 a lineal foot. We have $190 a lineal foot, so over double that one.
And I can just tell you from the township side, we did a project just out here in our driveway and over on Green Valley Road. It was about 100% increase over what we thought when we went out to bid.
Right. So back to my original question, it's just in conjunction with whatever we're asked. I'd like a good feel for the financial implications to the authorities' accounts.
So you want
As a
to
result.
know where we're going to take the money from? Is that what
Exactly,
I just
yeah.
want to make sure I understood what
Yeah.
you wanted versus a comparison
we-
to 200.
My earlier comments to Rich, when
Yeah.
Rich was on the call, and I think he's probably still is, but where we are with respect to the bond fund and.
No, I got it. I know
Thank
what you want now. I'm
Thank you
sorry.
very
I just
much.
wanted to make sure I was clear.
And I think, just as a follow-up to that, we'd also want an analysis from our engineer as to the risks of not taking on the project right now in light of the fact that we received only one bid,
Yeah.
and that the bid far exceeded your cost estimates. So at next meeting.
Okay, we'll do.
Okay. What, anything else on?
Let me just ask a question or two, but
Yeah.
on the Camelot Pump Station, they just for your information, right? I mean, you've got like 4 trees that are dead, that have been dead since the spring.
Mhm.
Is anybody doing anything about that? Because Jerome said that JL is not doing it.
Yeah, that's probably accurate until I know Mike Madron was working with J.O. and Bradley's legal counsel with regard to possibly setting up a meeting to go over what they feel that they're entitled to. Recall at the last authority meeting, we paid J.O. and Bradley's $110,000 and change pay application request, which included Jamie's analysis of all of the quantities on the project as far as pipe and manholes and lateral stubs and tees and all those other materials. And Jamie did go through that, I think it was 3 times, and came up with the same quantities and communicated that to J.O. and Bradley and said, look, we can only pay you what you physically constructed. J.O. and Bradley wants to be paid for everything, every line item on that contract, which includes materials that were never placed. And we explained to them, we cannot do that. And we won't do that. And I think that's where the fight is currently. So I think Mike is trying to work with their legal counsel to get a meeting together so we can all sit down in the same room and go through everything and say, look, this is, we're willing to work with them to some extent, but to ask for $260,000 worth of work that's never been performed, materials that were never placed, it's unconscionable. We'll never recommend that. But to answer your question, Mr. K, I think the authority may be inclined that if the meetings with J.O. and Bradley don't work out favorably, that the authority will be engaging some other contractors to complete that work. I don't know.
Okay. Does that complete your report?
Yes, ma'am.
One additional comment. First of all, the written report is great. Thank
Great.
you. I would encourage my fellow board members to look at this and make commentary, to make it better.
Certainly.
And we need to get it in earlier so that the public gets a chance to see it. And I don't know if we have an ability to post this.
We will, we'll, sorry, turn my mic off. We will, we'll post it as when we do the minutes. We'll just add this as part of that
Great.
agenda packet.
Yeah, this is good. Thank you.
Great.
Does that conclude your report?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Okay, solicitor's report. The solicitor is not here today, so we will be moving on to Steve for the operations.
Yeah, I only have
report.
one thing. In your payments, you're going to see a significant amount of money paid out to KBX. I was a little concerned why we had so many late bills. We've reached out. They had a changeover in personnel and have changed what some folks are doing. We've been told that that's been straightened out. That going forward, we'll be back to billing on a regular cycle so that we're not having these large bills all at one time. So just to let you know that. We're also meeting with them. I believe it's in about 3 or 4 weeks. I think it's August 11th, just to start back up. We had a regular meeting with them and that kind of fell off here the last about 6 months, 7 months. And so we're going back to that. So just let you know.
Thank you. All right, moving on. Consider approving the bills on check register A dated July 18, 2022, totaling $233,049.07. Can I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Right, can I have a second?
Second.
All right, Tom, thank you. Any questions or comments on that check register? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, next is under new business, consider retaining James Greenhall Junior Plumbing and Heating to perform work at 4111 Goshen Road, consistent with quote provided for an amount not to exceed $6,985. Can I have a motion? I'll make the motion. Can I have a second? Second from Tom. And any questions or comments on that? Okay, there was information in the packet, so, all right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Discussion and possible action regarding the formation of a budget task force to aid in the development of the 2023 budget. I know that, I think Tom Greco had expressed some interest in that. Anybody else? I would love to
I'd
have.
like to get involved with them.
Okay, well, do you think 3 is too many for that?
It is too
I
many.
think- I think 2 might be
If you do
best
3,
because
then
of
we'll
the-
need to advertise it and treat it like a meeting.
Yeah.
So just know that.
So I mean, if 2 would be conducive to bringing reports to the meeting. If there was a strong favor of having 3, then you would have to have a separate meeting and advertise it with an agenda and all of that. So my recommendation would be that we have 2.
Oh, yeah,
Tom
absolutely.
has
You don't
reached
want
out
more.
to me before. So Mark, are you
It's okay.
strong? Are you okay if Lewis and Tom
Yep.
do it? Okay. And they will keep us apprised of what happens during all of that and report back to us. So I'll make a motion. Let me see, sorry, guys. I'll make a motion to form a budget task force to include Tom Greco and Louis Rosenthal to aid in the development of the 2023 budget.
Second.
Second from Mark. All those in favor? Aye. Next, thank you for doing that, guys.
It is a little bit of a continuation of what we're doing on the debt
Exactly, that's
service.
what I'm
My
kind of
guess is
thinking
we're already working on the 2023 budget indirectly, but
And certainly given Mark's background too, I mean,
Yep.
if you need to
Mhm.
consult with him individually and in conformity with the Sunshine Act,
absolutely.
that would be great. All right, next on the agenda, discuss impossible action regarding the proposed sewer adjustment for 4105 Meadow Lane. What, I forget what this is
I don't know what that
about,
is.
Steve, do you recall?
Hey, Rich, I think you're on this one.
Rich, please.
Yeah, sure,
remind
sure.
me. I know I looked at it, but please remind me.
Absolutely. And I apologize if I look over, I'm not looking at you guys. I have my notes on the screen over here.
Okay.
So 4105 Meadow Lane hooked up in the first quarter of 2021. In November of 2021, the homeowner contacted the township and said that they had a leaking irrigation system while they were away. Give me 1 second. So in the third quarter of 2021, they were billed 117,000 gallons of water, which the homeowner is claiming did not go down the sewer. Because this is a new property, we asked the homeowner to wait the 4 quarters that the municipal authority has asked homeowners to wait previously to get some historical data. We waited the 4 quarters, and then after the 4 quarters are up, the average usage for the home was 23,475 gallons. So the adjustment that you're looking at now is pretty much taking the 117,500 that was billed during the leak and billing them the difference of the 23,475 gallons, which would be their average usage. That in turn is an adjustment of about $1,065.
Rich, are we 100% sure that that water didn't go down the system?
I mean, as sure as we can be, it's the leak did not need a permit to fix. And just looking at the historical data, he has the 4 good quarters that he did wait were all roughly the same amount. So there would be no reason to believe that it did go down the sewer system.
Is there something in our packet with this information?
There's
Well,
a financial spreadsheets.
The reason why I
That's
asked the
what I was
question,
wondering.
I
I
don't
knew
need
I
a
saw
permit to
something.
fix my toilet either. And I'm not being sarcastic. I'm just, it's
Does
the
it
fact
have
that
the
if the only
address? Oh,
issue is
here
we
it
didn't
is.
have a
Is this it?
permit
Oh, that's out.
to make the fix, I would argue that may or may not be a valid. Where did they say the leak was exactly?
The leak was in their irrigation system. And since they have had a second meter put on their irrigation system as well.
They have done that.
They have put a second meter on their irrigation system, so, yes.
Okay, so let me just state my thoughts on this and some other leak situations which we're dealing with now. As a result of our relying on Aqua water meter readings to bill, which most other townships and municipalities do, if they're not charging a flat fee. We're highly dependent on accuracy to render bills and ultimately justify where we are with accounts receivable. And in this situation, I think the proposal here is to make an adjustment for the leak, which obviously is a reversal of some type of accrual that we've made, and we have to reduce our accounts receivable. What I would say to that is I understand it from a common sense perspective, from fiscal oversight of the municipal authorities' funds. It's troubling and concerning. I don't necessarily have a solution. I haven't really thought deeply about it. There's another item on the agenda tonight which will echo. I'll echo my thoughts as well as a potential alternative to what might be proposed later on. But I'd like our engineer and our operations staff to think about, what might be a better way of handling some of these things. So yeah, I mean, how do you know it's not a toilet leaking versus, and constantly running and running and running versus, or maybe both are happening at the same time, who knows? But we're relying on usage, which meters in the homes are actually reporting for us to generate bills. And to have those wide swings over time can actually cause a bit of an issue for us in terms of revenue that we recognize and that we're projecting to use to maintain our system. So I just think we need to think a little bit more about it. This homeowner, I'm not looking to provide grief to, as much as I'm looking forward to providing grief later on in a situation which I think is totally different. But I'd like us to think about it because
Do you mind if I, just as you're.
there's
thinking
no
that-
natural way to say prove it.
Right, right.
That's the trouble.
Yes.
So Rich, can I just, and I apologize for making you go back over this, I kind of looked at it, I saw your proposed adjustment amount. So have they been paying bills all along?
Yes, when he contacted the municipal authority, who advised him that it's probably best to pay the full bill, just in case the board did not agree upon this, he wouldn't start incurring penalty as well. So yes, he is 100% current on his bill.
And so the amount is the amount charged and the balance is?
Yeah, so if you look at the history report that is also attached,
Yeah,
so you can see a full accounting of the history there. And then the refund that actually is later down on your agenda is $708.44. What that $708.44 represents is the 1,065 adjustment net his Q2 bill that has not gone out yet. So this would bring the $708 refund and 44 cents would bring him current to his Q2 2022 bill, and the refund would bring his account to zero.
Gotcha.
So it's $1,000.
708.44 is what they're looking for, like if we have to make a motion on it.
The one thing that I would,
I thought he just said it's 708.44.
That's the Q2 bill, which hasn't gone out.
Okay. So it's this number here,
Yes.
1,064.
Correct. So the 1,064 is the adjustment that would be approved, and then net the Q2 bill, you would be issuing a $708 cash refund.
When the next bill goes out.
Correct. And it should be, if it's not in the mail already, it should be going out within the next couple of days.
one thing I might mention is as a possible solution, if you're interested in taking action, would be that the municipal authority would not issue the 708, give the credit on the account. And then as they use up what they have, that's one way of kind of controlling that. And you're not having to worry about coming up with funds. I will say one thing about that is it means that the resident has paid and is out the money. But the other side of that is that you're not all of a sudden having an issue of cash flow from the municipal authority side in that you're managing it as, you already have those dollars and that's how you would do the return. So I just throw that out as a possible solution. Not
But
that,
on an accrual basis, the impact is the impact.
yeah, the impact is the impact, but I just would throw that out as a possible solution. The other piece that I would say as we go forward, we will look at this. We will work with the engineer and see if we can come up with some kind of something that seems reasonably fair, but at the same time says, yes, you as a homeowner have a responsibility, not just to, you have a responsibility to make sure that your system is not leaking and not just all of a sudden come back for some kind of credit in the afterwards. That we're always having to kind of do this. I mean, it seems like we do this almost every month when we have a meeting, and it's, it is a little bit of a challenge. It's a paperwork challenge for us and a challenge for you.
Yeah. All right, so without waiving our rights to change the way that we're handling these issues, I'll make a motion to issue a credit in the amount of $1,064.36 to the homeowner at 4105 Meadow Lane, and not have an actual payment, no refund issued to the homeowner, but a credit. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Mark. Questions or comments? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, next, consider authorizing Catania Engineering Associates to provide engineering and oversight services related to the completion and operation of the Old Masters Pump Station and the 537 plan. Can I have a motion? I'll make the motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
Okay, any questions or comments on this? I know that, just for the record, Catania Engineering and Associates, they are our conflict engineer. So they've already been approved by this authority, and given all of the, just kind of the delay in getting this pump station up and running and some of the questions I've received directly from residents, we thought it might be helpful to have just another engineer to call in so that we can, have someone there to help move the process along to the extent that they're able to do that. So that's where that comes from. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. And next, consider approving the following payments from the bond to Herbert McCumbee Engineers for Part 2 permit work, Act 537 Public Sewer Project. $4,931.25 for the Camelot service area and $703.75 for the Ashford service area.
So moved.
I'll second that.
Although I do have a question.
Okay.
Why is there zero requisition included in there, Dave? There was on the actual form itself. I know the two are here, but the actual requisition had,
Oh, I see what you mean.
I just didn't understand. I had, if you look at page C3 of the requisition, sort of threw me. I don't know why we're just reporting that. See that
So
number?
the zero, the third line item, so there was, for the overall sewer project, we let three. For the overall sewer project, we let three general contracts. One for the Camelot service area, which has 2 pump stations. One for the Ashford service area, which has 2 pump stations. And one was just an isolated service area for the Springton Point Estates pump station, which includes this area up around the.
So you just keep the running balance on this page?
Yes.
Got
Yeah.
it. Got it.
Yep.
Okay.
So that does include previous monies paid out to us under that contract.
Okay. That was my only question.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, next, consider approving the $708.44 refund to Kenneth Burns at 4105 Meadow Lane.
We
Did not-
just-
did we
Based on
just do
your
this?
last action,
Okay.
you
just
would
made
have
it a
no
credit.
action on this.
Yeah,
You
so
would just,
just no action on 11.2.
Right.
Okay. And consider approving $189.22 refund to Wee Wee Z at 114 Stony Brook Drive for a duplicate sewer payment.
So moved.
Second. Yep.
And Rich, you did confirm there's a duplicate there?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 12.1, discuss and possible action regarding the proposed sewer adjustment for 227 Charles Ellis Drive, building 100-200. Rich, do you have anything on this?
Yeah, so this is a continuation of our conversation at the last meeting. I believe the board had some additional items they wanted me to give to them before making a decision. I believe there was some discussion about how this was impacting the audited financial statements from a board member, in which we cleared up, and you can see some of the attachments that were asked for. So long story short, just to recap everything, building 100 and 200 of Charles Ellis Drive misthreaded the pipe over an extended period of time. They had approximately 17 millions of gallons leak into what they say the ground. We went back and we looked at their sub-meter usage, which Rockwell has on each one of the individual apartments, and then we netted them out. And that is how we're coming to the adjustment of $193,259.45.
Okay, so
Why don't we do the motion and then I'll let you do during the comment. So I'll make the motion. Well, I guess, I don't know. I don't know how to handle this one because it's an item on the agenda and clearly we need to discuss this issue,
Yeah,
which
so
I'm happy to do now. before-
typically you put a motion on the table. However, I believe there's some concern about what to do going forward. So I think you can have this question and answers. And then if you go through the question and answer part, once you've done that, then you could put a motion and then have further discussion about a specific motion.
See,
But if you're just, go ahead.
yeah, just like in the future, I would rather Rich, like things like this should be brought up in your report. Okay, and you can say there's an agenda item for your discussion, knowing full well that we are going to need to discuss this and ask you questions and, take on some information. This is not really an agenda kind of motion item. This is really something that we need to discuss. Not that we couldn't have it on the agenda as well, depending on what was discussed during your presentation. That, I think that would make more sense.
We
So-
can look at changing that
But
that way,
whatever.
but I think you're fine going through and asking any questions you have before you want to
Yeah.
make a motion.
Well, it's not
I
really
think
Robert's
what you
rules,
shouldn't
that's all.
do is necessarily opine on what your opinion is until you get a motion on the table, because you may choose not to take and do a
That's
motion
exactly what I'm
whatsoever.
concerned about.
But like, if you want to ask more information or somebody could say, I make a motion, or I suggest we table it, or suggest that we take no action, and it could stop right there. But I think that's not being a lawyer, but playing one
No,
on
yeah, and my
TV. That's
feeling
my
on,
direction.
my feeling on this is that, Rich, I'd like you to present information on this and have any of the board members ask some questions at this point in time about this. And then we can, if we decide to, we can put it on the agenda for action to be taken at the next meeting. So at this stage, I'm not tabling anything, but at this stage, why don't we have you present any additional details that you think we may be missing? And if not, then open it up to the board members to ask some additional questions.
I think you have a grasp on the situation. There's, like I said, there's about 17 million gallons of water that leaks into the ground from a misthreaded pipe. There is each one of the apartments is metered within the Rockwell apartments. There's 20 apartments in there. The leak happened after the aqua meter. So the aqua meter was running and running and running, but the water is actually never getting into the second meters in the apartments themselves. So what we did here was we went back and we took the actual usage of the sub meters and subtracted it by the gross gallons that Aqua gave us. And that is the adjustment that you're looking at. Aqua has also made an adjustment, which was included in your packets. It was a business decision. It was not based on any gallon amount. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else that you guys are missing. But overall, that's the situation. And Rockwell is asking for an adjustment on their account for this misthreaded pipe. And there was also a water leak narrative from Rockwell themselves, explaining what happened in their words.
Go ahead, Louis.
So your narrative doesn't really include a recommendation on what you think this board might do. But Rockwell Newtown LLC's letter to the municipal authority outlines the details behind what you just summarized, Rich. And in their own, and they make a point of differentiating between who owns and manages Rockwell Newtown and who the developer was, and clearly points out that the developer, Equus BPG, was responsible for the installation of all roads and infrastructures in the community. And by their own narrative, they indicate that the developer's own contractor made a mistake. They did not install it properly, the connections to the meters, and 17 million gallons disappeared into the groundwater. As I mentioned previously with the residential homeowner, a very similar situation occurs. We rely on Aqua billings as fact when we render bills and post receivables to our account. And I appreciate you following up with the auditors and the audit adjustment that's required. But beyond audited statements, I think the authority and the township's engineer, the authority's engineer expect that engineering services are done accurately, because we rely on the results of the engineering services to create bills and accounts receivable and a number of other health and safety issues that are not being discussed here today. The fact that Aqua reversed 17 million gallons of billings and they just credited the account is totally irrelevant to what we're dealing with here. Aqua is a large company that's owned by Essential. Essential has well over $1 billion in retained earnings, and this reversal for them is nothing. It's meaningless. For us, it's a big reversal, and I'm troubled by it, especially because Rockwell points out it was the developer's engineers that caused this mistake to begin with. What if Aqua had taken a position of saying, no, would that affect our standing? And I would submit to you that it doesn't affect our standing, because in fact, we really don't know whether or not they segregated drainage and the sewage lines coming in. We don't even know whether some of that water infiltrated our sewage system because of this really shoddy engineering. So I would, it's a mistake that was not caused by the authority, wasn't caused by the township. It was caused by the developer. It's a big kerfuffle that has to be somehow brought to resolution. I would feel much more comfortable if, the developer, the owner split the difference and made some type of accommodation for the error that they've caused, the amount of time that we've had to follow up on it. Again, if we had $1 billion retained earnings like Essential has, I would say, let's just do it and move on. But we don't have that. And I think this sets a precedent for us going back after shoddy construction was done and somehow reversing this. That's my position. If the operations staff feels differently, I'm happy to listen to it, but I would, if our solicitor was here and with the approval of my colleagues, I would ask somebody to go back and say, you have documented to us that you created this mess, help us fix it. We're not Aqua, we don't have retained earnings like they do. And reversing nearly $200,000 is, as we say in Yiddish, not bupkis.
Yeah, it seems to me as well, because there is some culpability, involved, that, I'm concerned that we're just, a mistake is made, bills are sent out, they're not paid because of a mistake. It's a little different than a home ownership situation.
Right.
Where a third-party insured contractor comes in. I'm
Is your
sorry?
mic on?
I have my mic.
Oh, okay. Just wasn't picking you up.
Okay. I don't know, when a third-party contractor comes in for new construction and makes a mistake, which results in this bill, I'm not, and I know by their own admission, right? I mean, I would like to kind of throw this back to our solicitor, at least for just an issue that way, as to whether or not it's reasonable for us to, in light of the parties involved, in light of the admission that was made by Rockwell through their statement, whether or not we are in a position to treat this entity different than we would a residential homeowner. Because in a sense we are, right? Because we're saying, we're not in a position perhaps to reverse all of this. And if we do take that position, what is our support for that?
And it is remarkable that that 17 million gallons of water could spill and they reverse the bill, because I can only imagine if my plumber had done that at my home and I spilled 100,000 gallons, I hardly believe they would reverse my bill. But anyhow, that's not a business matter here. I apologize for a personal comment.
Okay, all right, so my feeling my thoughts on this issue at this point, and the board members can let me know whether or not they support this, but my feeling is that we present this to our solicitor with the one issue that I mentioned, and that, Rich, I would also like any form of an analysis as to the financial impact on the municipal authority related to the requested reimbursement or adjustment amount. Okay? All right, and then we will table that for the next meeting. Okay. And
Matt, one.
yes,
And,
absolutely.
and if the professional in the authority believe that this is, unreasonable, some of the things that we've talked about, we feel free to communicate same to me.
Well, sure, but I will say is the professional from the authority, we'll give direction that we think is wise in that way, but at the same time, we also support what the board does and we will stand behind that, whatever you all decide. Of course, as long as it's legal and ethical, but, but that we'll do that. So I don't want to make it sound like if we disagree that we wouldn't support you, whatever your decision.
No, I think it's healthy that we had it on the agenda, and Rich, we really appreciate you bringing bringing this to us in an organized manner like that. We really appreciate it. And, I'm glad we have this discussion, and we'll finish it up at the next meeting.
Okay.
Okay. So debt service subcommittee update. I don't know, Louis or Tom, will you be giving us an update at this point? or-
We had a meeting since last time. Tom, do you mind if I just sort of highlight?
Absolutely.
So I'm just going to go real fast. This is a continuation of some of the things that we briefed this board on at the last meeting. And with your support, we were looking at a number of things, and probably the 4 takeaways I would communicate, Tom and I would communicate to the rest of you, is that we're looking at the following items. The first of which is looking at the potential for unifying sewage rates across the entire municipal authority system. From a number of different perspectives, we've got aging infrastructure of different kinds on both of our service areas right now. And just from the pure sort of processes, that just begins to simplify it. The second is potentially separate and discrete billing for both debt service, which the authority has to cover, as well as for infrastructure charges, a line item to maintain all of the pipes and stations and infrastructure within the authority's domain. The third thing is this would allow us for consistency in how we sort of look at future capital expenditures and how we maintain our infrastructure going forward. So if we view the authority as one giant service area, serviced by lots of different components, it makes it very simple from a budgeting perspective. And then we're looking at potentially, and maybe this ties in a little bit to budget, looking at what a pro forma budget would look like, unified versus segregated between SR2 and SR3. We will still have separate bills that we receive from RHM and CDCA. And so those will come in, but those are the cost of us doing business. We don't have a lot of ability to shop around for other processors and conveyors of our sewage. So anyhow, those are 4 things that we hope to come back with potentially next month with some more thoughts around it. In the meantime, we're going to look at target rates and what it takes to move rates around. And then ultimately, the most important thing is communicating it to the ratepayers and other members of the public and answer questions that they may have. But we want to make sure that everybody here is way comfortable before we even get there. So those are the things that I think we covered.
I think we got it all.
So
Thank you very much.
did I miss anything, Stephen, Rich?
I don't think you missed anything. I think that from the board's perspective, as we move forward, as long as you all are in agreement, you just need to understand there'll be some people that aren't necessarily happy with this choice, but the benefit is over the long haul. We set ourselves up to really have a good capital basis for taking care of our system, not just today, but 20 and 30 years from now. And we're trying not to look at how to handle just today. We're trying to look at how to handle the long term.
Appreciate it. Okay, moving on then to public comment. I don't see any members of the public here. So no public
It might
comment,
be online.
and
It might be online, no.
they can't do it online any longer. They have to submit it.
Oh,
So
okay.
Stephen, no questions were submitted, right?
No
Okay.
questions.
And any items for the next agenda? I think we highlighted the 12.1, and I don't think anything else was tabled. No,
Did we follow up on jail though? What's happening with that lawsuit?
well, yeah, but nothing right now for the agenda, but we will definitely be addressing it in between now and then.
Doesn't have to be the agenda.
There's no action to be taken on it
Okay.
right now.
There's no action at this
Okay.
time.
There might be,
All right.
but
You will have an action item for the Westchester Pike sewer replacement.
oh, that's right.
And then I will have, as part of my engineer's report, if we do advertise for bid 314 Summit Avenue bank restoration, I'll be reading those bids out loud at the next meeting.
Okay, so.
But there won't be any, that won't be an
314
action item.
Yeah, 314 will be, right?
That won't be an action item. I'll just be simply
It'll be
reading.
part of your report.
be part of my
Yeah,
report,
okay, so that's good. Okay, so then we have the one additional item. Good, okay. At this